I saw that and I thought that's just so fitting for all of stroke survivors that, we don't have to be perfect. We can be perfectly imperfect. So yeah, that's my take on it is you don't have to be perfect. Everyone struggles with something.
This is the Recovery After Stroke podcast with Bill Gassiamas, helping you navigate recovery after stroke.
Bill from recoveryafterstroke.com. This is episode 139, and my guest today is Karen Moorman. When Karen made a routine appointment to the chiropractor to help out with her most recent migraine headache, she never would have guessed that she was not destined to walk out of that appointment on her own free will. Now, just before we get started, if you enjoyed the Recovery After Stroke podcast and you think that others should hear the amazing stories of these excellent stroke survivors, please tell everybody and anybody that will listen to you about it, and share the podcast link www.recoveryafterstroke.com on your favorite social media app. Also, leave the Recovery After Stroke podcast a 5-star review on iTunes or your favorite podcast app. And if you're watching on YouTube, click the thumbs up button and subscribe to get notified of new episodes. Thank you so much for listening. And now it's on with the show. Karen Moorman, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you.
Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. You are somebody who had a cryptogenic stroke, a stroke where there doesn't seem to be an underlying cause.
That's right.
Tell me a little bit about what happened to you.
Well, I had a really bad migraine, and then all night, and then I went to go to the chiropractor in the morning because that used to relieve my headaches. And I was sitting in the chiropractor's office when the girl called me up to go to his room, and I didn't answer her. And then the chiropractor came in and he said, that I was having a stroke, and they called 911. And I was so fortunate that the ambulance was right outside the door of the chiropractor's office because they were going for breakfast.
Wow.
And so I was in for surgery within the first hour.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, you did what I did when I was feeling unwell, left side numbness and all that kind of stuff. I went to my chiropractor as well.
Really? Yeah. That's crazy.
At the beginning, I didn't have the symptoms that you had. I had a very different kind of lead up to my brain hemorrhage, and the symptoms were just numbness in my leg. And then it kind of crept up, and then by day 7 the entire left side was numb. Now I was ignoring all those symptoms the whole time,
right?
But eventually when I got there, the chiropractor said, you need to go to the hospital because this is not neurological. This is he said, this is not your back, it's neurological, maybe.
That's right.
And I argued with him, and I went eventually after I argued with my wife, and everybody else told me to go.
Yeah.
Was there these headaches that you were getting, was there any previous signs that perhaps this was a different headache? And looking back now, you're seeing those signs and they're more obvious than they were at the time?
No, not like I had a really sharp, I always suffered from migraines my whole entire life. But about a month before my stroke happened, I had this migraine that only lasted a few seconds, but it felt like it was from the center of my head coming out my ear. And I went to my doctor the next morning and I said something's drastically wrong because it scared the pants off me. And he sent me for a whole bunch of tests that all came back fine. And then when then that night that I had my wicked migraine, that was my only symptom. And then I went in, and then they told me I had a stroke, and the rest was after that, right?
How old were you?
45.
It's the last thing you expect to hear from a hospital or a doctor or anybody when you're going in for just a bad migraine, a migraine that you've had forever, and all of a sudden it just feels a bit worse.
Yeah.
what do you tell your family? So I was in a situation where I had news to share with them that was pretty dramatic and drastic. How do you break the news when A, you're suffering, B, there's this really serious health issue, and now you
Mm.
got to tell your family?
Actually, I couldn't tell my family because I had no speech
Ah,
after my stroke. So they told me. So, yeah.
so were you conscious that your speech was gone and that you couldn't communicate, or were you not conscious of that?
No, I was in and out of consciousness, was in the ambulance, and then I went for surgery right away. And then when I came out of surgery,
Ah,
my husband was standing there and I couldn't get any words out. So it was pretty scary, but yeah.
wow. I can't imagine what that's like. I was able to speak and communicate the whole time. I was a bit hazy and I didn't really know what was happening,
Yeah.
but everything that happened to me was planned over a number of years by the time I had surgery and by the time I woke up from hospital. And
Oh,
I
okay.
kind of had the whole process planned, but yours was really sudden.
Yeah.
And then when you woke up, you weren't able to speak, but what else weren't you able to do?
Um, I Well, I kept going. They were trying to figure out what happened to me, so they kept sending me for all these tests. I was in the hospital for 7 or 8 days, and my whole time there, I spent getting shuffled between, all these different tests being run on me. Um, and then my speech started to slowly come back when I was in the hospital, and then they got me up and walking, and like I could walk, but I had right foot drop. So my stroke with my affected side's my right side. So
So you had right foot drop and you was rehabilitation straight after that? Was it around the same time, or was there a delay between you had the opportunity to sort of get back on your feet?
um yeah, they had me up on my feet when I was in the hospital, and then I got to come home after my 8 days in the hospital. Actually happened right before Christmas. So I got to come home and spend Christmas at home. And I went for physiotherapy, speech therapy, and occupational therapy for the next following 2 months after my stroke.
How else did it interfere with your life? Were you somebody that went to work? Did you have a job? Did you do all those things?
Yeah, yeah. I actually went back to work about 6 weeks after my stroke, very, very part time, just to get me out of the house. And I love my job, so it's a great place to work, and they're really great with me. So yeah, I was happy to be back there, and I wasn't back to my position for probably 4 months, but
How did you find that transition of going back to work? Was it difficult, fatigue? Was there any issues that you were having to deal with while you were at work?
yeah, well, my speech was my biggest thing because um, I work for a company that we do all the gym equipment, and my job is I build all the jerseys for all the schools in Western Canada. And I have to talk on the phone and I have to go into meetings. And so that was my hesitancy, was going back full time, was that I could never find my right words. So that was my biggest thing. And then my typing and my handwriting still have yet to come back great, but I can make do.
It sounds like the speech has definitely come back and there's
Yeah,
hesitancy around that. How long has it been now since the stroke?
it was 2 years in December.
Okay.
So
So things have progressed quite well. What about physically? Where are you at with the foot drop and your ability to walk the way you used
my
to?
foot drop's pretty minor now. I don't have to go to physiotherapy anymore for my foot drop. Um, I walk every day except today because it's snowing totally terribly here right now. But yeah, we walk every day, and I work out every morning. And so that helps me. Like I can only do so many laps before my foot drop really kicks in. But yeah,
So the fatigue kind of
Yeah,
exaggerates the challenges that you had.
that's right. Yeah,
Okay.
that's right.
That's pretty standard. That's what most people describe, is that they start off looking or feeling quite, normal, I would say, whatever that word
Yeah,
is, quite baseline. And then as the fatigue and the tiredness kicks in and the day wears on, then the symptoms start to become more pronounced and more obvious. And that's exactly me. I have a left side issue with my foot and my leg. And yesterday we were at the football, our Australian rules football, with the
yeah,
four big sticks where they run and hold the ball and kick a ball through the sticks. And it was really, really cold. It was really cold. And when I got up, my left leg was completely just out of action, didn't want to participate, didn't want to be
yeah,
involved in anything. So I couldn't feel it the whole time. And trying to walk without feeling it is possible, but it's focus. I have to focus on it. I have to concentrate on it. And
yeah.
that is annoying because when I'm walking and focusing on just my leg, I can't really be involved in what's happening around me. But
That's right.
that's kind of the extent of it. So your foot drop gets worse. Do you have other symptoms that also get a little bit worse? Is there some challenges that come back that are sort of lingering?
Not with my bottom half of my body. My hands, when I get tired, my printing is atrocious, my typing is atrocious, my handshaking is really bad when I'm trying to eat, those kind of things. It makes it a really fun time.
Yeah, and
So,
you solved that handshaking problem though with a special kind of fork. I noticed on Instagram
yeah.
you were showing off
Yeah,
your
I
brand
just
new
bought
fork.
that and it works a lot better, but still sometimes I'm still shaking and it's way heavier, right? So then it's really bouncing. So
You were properly showing off. You were really happy with yourself, eating
yeah,
with your fork, shaking your
yeah,
head, telling us how amazing you were. It's so good to
yeah,
see that such a simple thing can bring back so much happiness or joy. Or
that's right.
how did it make you feel when you found this fork?
Well, it feels really good because I mean, not that I'm probably going to be taking my fork with me to a restaurant, but like it's really embarrassing when you're standing there and you're shaking so much trying to get your food in your mouth. So yeah, it's really a great accomplishment, right?
It is, and it's such a weird thing that all they had to do to the fork to make it better for people was make it heavier.
Yeah, that's
That,
crazy.
who would have thought that the solution was so simple for a lot of people? That's going to make a massive difference in the quality of their life.
Well, I'm very challenged with my left hand. I've never been able to use my left hand for anything, so that's why me being a right side affected really stinks for me because um like I do photography too, and with my right hand I have to use the for pushing the button for taking pictures, right? And so it's really quite challenging with that.
Does that make the camera then shake a little bit as you're about to press
Yeah.
it and
Yeah.
change focus?
Yeah.
You could create this new genre of photography, call it like out of focus genre or something.
That's right. Yeah. That's a great idea.
um, aren't there? I have a feeling that there are cameras that have a remote control now that you could.
Yeah. Yeah, I can do that too. I have a studio in our basement that I still use at times, but I don't do nearly as much photography as I used to do.
And is that because of the challenges and the concerns that you have around your hand? And is it the stroke that has led to that?
Um, a little bit, and the economy in Alberta in Canada drastically changed probably 5 years ago with the oil and everything. So I that's why I went to work about 5 years ago. So I was still doing photography on the side a little bit, but after my stroke, not so much.
Yeah. I also see that on your Instagram, which for people who are curious to connect with you, Karen, I'll have the link in the show notes. They'll be able to
Yep.
find that and connect with you. Your Instagram handle is stroke underscore sir, SUR underscore Viva. You've also have a post there that says, stroke recovery life is not for sissies.
That's
Hashtag
right.
warriors.
Yeah.
I love that. It's a kind of a different way to look at it. You don't look like you were a sissy previously, and it looks like you've just taken this on the chin, so to speak, and you've become somebody who has problems to solve, and you're
Yeah.
just trying to find ways to solve them. Is that the kind of person you always were, and have you applied those skills to this recovery? How have you approached the recovery?
Yeah, I think that's exactly how I was before, and I've never had one day where I've gone, why me?
Mm,
I've just gone, what can I do to make this better?
mm,
So, yeah. I always take things, um I don't know how to say that, sorry.
that's good.
Um
So
I
you have.
never take anything too seriously.
Mhm.
Like everything, I just let everything roll, and yeah, sorry.
It's
I
okay.
don't really
So
know.
is it because your mindset is about problem solving? It's not about the problem, it's about the solutions to the problem. Does that accurately describe it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Did it?
And even when I was in the hospital and I wasn't speaking, I knew that I would speak. I knew that I would walk again. I I don't know why I knew that,
Mm,
because then I didn't know anybody who had ever had a stroke before. I I just assumed I would be totally fine.
yeah. Sometimes that type of assumption could be good because it could just open the path for things to come into
Yeah,
your world to allow you to get better.
that's right.
And thankfully, it all lined up for you that the stroke wasn't, well, it's always a serious thing, but it wasn't that dramatic in that you didn't end up in locked in syndrome. You didn't have all those
Yeah.
other things. You just rolled with it and whatever came, came. If
Mhm.
it was more serious, and I know this is a hypothetical and difficult, do you think it could have shaken your core you, the core person that you are, the one that doesn't sit in the problem, doesn't say why me? If it was worse, do you think it might have been able to shake up that old version of you?
Might have, yeah. Hard to say because it didn't happen to
Yeah.
me. But we've had a lot of other medical things in our family, and you know, we all just roll with it. So
Mm. That's really helpful. That's similar to me. I didn't really worry about future strokes, although I had 3 brain hemorrhages over 3 years. I didn't really worry about them, but I prepared for them
mhm,
in that I did what I could to make myself as healthy as possible. So that if it did happen again, I didn't
right,
have so far to come to be healthy and then to heal my brain. I was kind of already in the zone of being
right,
really well and therefore hopefully minimize the negative side of another bleed
right.
and start from a better baseline.
Mhm,
Um, and then it happened again, and then it happened again, and then I had brain surgery, and then I had to learn how to walk again and use my arm again and all that
yeah,
type of thing. I just felt like the only part of the process that I could control was what I did to myself, how I managed my body and also my mindset. Are you the
yeah,
kind of person that actively looks at ways of quote unquote remaining healthy and eating well and doing all those types of things?
yeah. I mean, like I was saying, I there was no reason for my stroke. I never have smoked. I never really drink. Um, I'm not overweight. I didn't have any heart issues, nothing like that. We eat really healthy. So,
Wow.
you know, I think that I was doing everything right before. So I just carried on with it.
Yeah. Wow. That is really bizarre and strange. And you're not in the risk category. If you went and did a
No.
health check the day before, they would have said you would have had a clean bill of health. Everything would have been
Yeah.
perfectly fine.
Yeah.
How old,
The neurologist kept asking me if I did judo or lacrosse. I said no.
in case that somehow impacted?
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
in case you got hit or something and it caused a.
That's what he kept thinking was I got hit, but I didn't.
Um, I know you have a family.
Mhm.
You have kids. How many kids are there?
I have 2 children. I have a 22-year-old and a 20-year-old.
And how do you tell them? How do you have that conversation with them about what's happened to you and how do they deal with it?
Well, my son was living elsewhere and he was coming home for Christmas. So my husband broke the news to him and, you know, they were both quite concerned about me, but they've both been super great with helping me. My son's actually he's a personal trainer. So he helps me with all my training and everything, and my daughter's always in there with me working out. So
Yeah, it sounds like they're a good good bunch of kids to have around as well as they
yeah,
are knowledgeable about what they can do to actually help.
that's right. Yeah, they both are. Yeah.
Yeah, that's brilliant. How did your husband handle the whole thing?
I think my husband took it the worst
Yeah,
because, like he said, I'm the rock of the family because I'm the one who, knew what was happening within the family. I was the one who kept the calendar. And then when I had my stroke, he's like, I don't know how to pay the bills. I don't know how to do anything because he never had to.
hmm.
So, yeah, he took it probably the worst, but he's recovered quite well.
Has he stepped up?
Yeah, he
Does,
did. He stepped up big time. So,
does he know how to pay a bill now?
actually, yes, he does.
I know we're joking about him, and hopefully if he listens to this, he doesn't feel like we're being too nasty. But that is quite common, that whole
Yeah,
thing that we have roles within our family and we
that's right.
do certain things that the other person, just because we do that thing, doesn't need to do it. And it never gets discussed and we never cross boundaries and people don't do each other's tasks. So it
That's
becomes
right.
a real problem. So
Yeah.
imagine the biggest problem for your husband being, as well as dealing with your wife and who's unwell and
Mhm.
what does that all look like and mean for the future and all that kind of thing. Imagine the other biggest problem being the electricity might get turned off because I don't know how to pay the bill.
Yeah. Yeah. That was it was pretty funny because he was trying to cancel some appointments for me and he didn't know how to phone anybody and so yeah, he made do very well though.
Yeah, good
He
on
he
him.
enlisted my daughter to help him.
Yeah, good
And
on.
actually it's like the password thing. You know how we always have a million passwords?
Yeah,
I had all the passwords in my brain.
right.
So they were never written down anywhere. So now we have them all written down.
Yeah. The password thing is a real difficult one. My wife and I had that conversation just a few days ago. She said, I don't know the password to your computer. There's a bank account, there's this, there's that. And I'm like, yeah. And she said, what if we need it one day, God forbid, all that kind of stuff. And I said,
Yep,
okay, so I think I need to contact the bank and get them to put you onto this particular account. And I need to do this and I need to do that. And I think that's a good idea because if I don't do it, it creates a real struggle of getting information out of things
yeah,
that could possibly be useful for all sorts of situations, doctors and legal matters and
that's
accounting
right.
matters. Yeah, maybe something worth considering for the people who are listening and watching this. Why why did you decide to start creating posts on your Instagram that was stroke related? What are you getting out of posting about this part of your life, this recovery stage?
I think it helps me because, like I was telling you, I didn't know anybody who'd ever had a stroke before. I didn't know any of the symptoms of a stroke. I didn't know any of the recovery process of a stroke. And after having my stroke, I stayed silent for a long time um, because I was just, you know, getting used to it all, right?
Mhm.
And then I decided just a few months ago that I was going to start posting. And yeah, I really like it now because I think it helps me. I think it would help other people.
Yeah. it's a selfish thing initially. You do it and you think, I'm going to get something out of this, and you do, but then you realize
Mhm.
there's a massive loop that happens is other people get a lot out of it, and then it just creates this amazing loop of I'm benefiting from doing this, and so is the other person reading this, and therefore I've
That's
got
right.
to keep doing this because I benefit and they keep benefiting. And
That's right.
that's how I got stuck in this loop of almost 140 episodes of the podcast, because I get so much out of it, each interaction with everybody,
Yeah.
and they get so much out of it. And then the people listening get so much out of it, and they respond to me and they tell me how much they loved a particular episode.
Yeah.
And it's almost impossible to stop.
That's right. Yeah.
And and all the people that I interviewed have had a stroke. Something really serious has happened to them in their life. They're
Mhm.
struggling, a lot of them, a lot more than what I might be or you might be.
Yeah.
But they're all thinking about other people as well as themselves. And it's really strange. I never expected to see that in so many people, that they come on the podcast often to share their story, and also maybe it'll make somebody else feel better. And that is really bizarre to me, that maybe it'll make somebody else feel better.
That's right.
How do we get to, how do you get to that stage though? Like, why is it so important that other people are also going to be okay going through something similar to what you're going through?
Um, yeah, I mean, I'm not really sure how to answer that. Uh, um, yeah, sorry, I don't really know how to answer that.
That's okay. I don't expect you to 100% have an answer to it, but it's kind of a question that I'm putting out there. I'm hoping
Yeah.
somehow that stimulates something that makes me get an answer to that as well. I don't really have the answer to it either, but it's really
Yeah.
strange that we're in that position. So I love it.
Yeah.
It's a good thing.
I think it's a great thing. Yeah.
So what are your plans? Are you a forward thinker? Are you looking into the future about how you'd like things to progress from here?
With my stroke recovery, you mean?
Yeah, with all things.
Yeah. I am a planner, but we like to travel,
Mhm.
and obviously right now no one's traveling, but we love to travel, and that's my husband's looking at his retirement soon, and so we're looking at that forward thinking, right? Looking towards the happiness of getting to be out there in the world and checking things out.
Okay. And COVID has interrupted it, all of that, of course,
Yeah.
for everybody
Yeah.
and everyone. So it's a little bit
Yeah.
further away than it was perhaps before 2019 it happened,
Yeah.
um, or 2020 really actually happened. Um, so has COVID interrupted your recovery in any way? Did you struggle to access services in those
No,
days?
no, no. No, the only I was going to a hand physiotherapist, and that was the only thing that got stuck on me with the COVID thing. But yeah, I all my appointments were pretty much done, and I've been doing all my doctor's appointments over the phone. So
Mhm.
I mean, it hasn't really affected me.
You're on the
I
other
know
side.
other people right now, like my husband was saying, it's so lucky that I had my stroke when I did, because I think that if it had happened during COVID, it would have been so much harder to
Mm,
access everything and to be in
yeah.
the hospital and,
It sounds like luck has gone your way a few times, and I'm not sure that there's luck in a stroke exactly, but you were at the chiropractor at the right time. The
yeah,
ambulance was there at the
yeah,
right time.
yeah,
Do you ever think about that? Does that ever play on your mind?
yeah. I truly believe in luck, because I am super thankful that I'm still here, and that the ambulance drivers were in the right place at the right time, that that I had made it to the chiropractor's office, because like I had just walked in the door and I had just sat down. I had been driving 15 minutes over to the chiropractor's office at 7 o'clock in the morning. So
That
you
could
know
have ended a lot worse.
that's right, and my husband was working, so I would have I could have fallen at home. You know what I mean? I would have been all by myself. So, you know, the endless things that go through my mind that you think, what if, what if, what if? But
Yeah.
I'm just super thankful and lucky that everything happened the way it did.
Have you put any thought into your mortality? If this is a difficult question and you can't answer it, that's fine. I started doing that. I thought about I might not be here. I need to put some things in place and set some things straight. Have you done any of that kind of work? Did you find yourself in that space at all?
Not really, no. Um, my daughter was always mentions that, you know, she is super thankful that I'm still here and the what ifs, because she's that kind of kid that she's always worried about everybody, right? But no, that's not my thinking typically.
It's not your thing.
No.
Yeah. I love it. You are actually quite different than a lot of the other stroke survivors, because I feel like what stroke does is it enhances for most people, our worst traits, in that if we've got stuff that's left over from a lifetime of trauma or suffering or emotional distress or whatever, you have a stroke and then that just makes it 10 times worse.
Yeah.
I went through a little bit of those things becoming a little worse, but I was always on the path of self-development and learning about myself and being a better version of myself and all that kind of stuff. So I quickly realized the things that I had to remedy. And the few things I had to remedy were not about me per se. They were about how I interacted with certain people, my family, the people I loved, that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I went about going out of my way to remedy that, apologizing when I was being an idiot, which was regular. And just letting people know how I felt about them, and just making sure that I gave people the opportunity to express themselves around me and tell me what I needed to do, so to speak, to fix things.
Yeah.
I'm sensing you're just a really laid back, chilled out kind of person anyway. So
Yeah.
you don't have a lot of that stuff. Is it accurate? Does it feel like you didn't bring with you a lot of stuff from your past that has been exacerbated because of the stroke?
No, I don't feel like I did.
What do you put that down to? Can you explain why you're not that kind of person who carries that type of stuff with you into the future?
No, I can't really explain it. The only thing that I'm really grateful for is like I was saying earlier, I used to have these bad migraines my entire life. Since I was 16, I had these horrible migraines from a car accident I was in, and now I hardly ever get them. And I
Wow.
used to get them like daily. I would have like, for 25 years, I had these wicked migraines almost every day. And I hardly have them anymore. So I think I'm just super grateful and that I can think without my brain hurting every day, that, you know, I
Wow.
think, yeah, that I don't have that pain of my head hurting every day. I do still get like little migraines, but they're not the same. They're not, they're like little sharp zapping kind of migraines now. Like it used to consume my whole head. Like I couldn't see anything. I'd have to be in a dark room. I'd have to, sometimes I'd even lose my hearing in one side.
Wow.
That,
That would be difficult living life under those conditions. Right. But somehow you've managed to do all of that, raise a family, work, be a full-time human, and live with this condition.
Yeah.
And did it get you down? Did it make you feel?
Oh, yeah. It was terrible, because every day my head hurt, and you can only take so much medicine before your gut starts hurting, and then it messes with other things, right? So yeah, every day for that many years was so daunting on me that now I'm headache free and happy.
And all you needed to do was have a stroke to get rid of it.
That's right. And that's why I'm actually kind of happy I had my stroke, because
Gosh.
I'm living a life now instead of hiding out in my bedroom in a black room, right?
Wow, that is just intensely nuts.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is such a good thing. It's so bizarre.
Yeah.
You've rewritten the book, let me tell you, on most things. Like in our discussion, we've only been talking for about 30 minutes or so. You've just flipped everything upside down. And to have this outcome from a stroke is just amazing and ridiculous and great. Um, when you were living with this headache and you were interacting with people all the time, did they know that you were experiencing this headache from your migraines all the time, or were they
No.
oblivious to you because you were really good at hiding it?
Yep. I was pretty good at hiding it. I mean, some days there was no hiding it
Mm,
because, I couldn't see anything or I couldn't be in a room with people, you know what I mean? But no, I was pretty good at hiding it.
yeah. And that is similar to, what's interesting is you've kind of had that similar experience that stroke survivors get. You had it because of migraines, but a lot of
Mhm.
stroke survivors have headaches as a result of their brain surgery or the stroke
Right.
they had.
Yeah.
And externally, they look all, quote unquote normal.
Mhm.
And there's the invisible side of the disability that people don't pick up on and they can't
That's right.
possibly understand.
Mhm.
Did you have that experience, that invisible disability kind of experience, although it wasn't per se a disability in the
Yeah.
traditional explanation of
Yeah.
the term? It kind of was, because it's stopping you from living your fullest.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, for sure it was.
Did
Yeah.
people misunderstand you and judge you because you had a headache again?
Yeah. Like my family said, "Oh, you have another migraine." Oh, you know. So,
You kind of had all of the stuff that stroke survivors experienced before your stroke. You've done everything backwards and now it's gone because of the stroke.
that's right. Yeah. I'm backwards.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah.
That's really good. And now you can go about having this different kind of experience in your life, a different kind of clarity about your
Mhm.
head. How has that changed your life? What do you see now that you couldn't see before? Or how has that impacted your life in a positive way?
Well, I can be out in the world and not have my head hurting. It feels great. And yeah, I mean, it's totally changed my life though. To think that having a stroke has changed my life for the better
Mm.
seems really weird to say, but that's what I always say.
A lot of people say that, even people living with quite serious disabilities, they'll say the stroke was the best thing that happened to them. Of
Hmm.
course, at the time, it's the scariest. It's one of the worst things. It's one of the hardest things. But after
Hmm.
some time elapses and they go on some kind of a path of self discovery and healing and um, learning about, how to support themselves and overcome challenges and how tough they really are. They're not
Hmm.
sissies, these stroke survivors, like you say.
Yeah.
Um, they kind of reflect, and sometimes it just enters their mind that, oh my gosh, the stroke was one of the best things that happened to me because it led to all these other things occurring.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you've got there a lot quicker than most stroke survivors, but it definitely has led to you discovering parts of yourself that you didn't know were even possible.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Painkillers, paracetamol, any of that stuff, did it ever ease the headache symptoms? Did it ever give you some kind of ability to get back to your day and feel okay?
No, no. I mean, I lived on naproxen, Advil, Tylenol,
Mhm.
Tylenol twos, like everything. I would take Imitrex. I took all the migraine medicines. They might have helped for a day or two, but they never cured it. So
And now, are you taking those medications at all with those little ones that you experience?
no.
That's fantastic. And just your pocket as well. You're probably going to have more money left in your pocket.
That's right. Yeah,
It's like a smoker who stops smoking and all of a sudden they have all this spare cash.
that's right. That's what we're traveling on.
Yeah. That's
All my headache medicines, we're going to be traveling on them.
that's brilliant. That is so heartwarming to hear. The other thing that you posted about one day was, and I love the words that you use in your posts. One of them is perfectly imperfect. And I think that's a really important thing. What does that mean for you, perfectly imperfect?
Um, I
If you've had a stroke and you're in recovery, you'll know what a scary and confusing time it can be. You're likely to have a lot of questions going through your mind. Like, how long will it take to recover? Will I actually recover? What things should I avoid in case I make matters worse? Doctors will explain things, but obviously you've never had a stroke before. You probably don't know what questions to ask. If this is you, you may be missing out on doing things that could help speed up your recovery. If you're finding yourself in that situation, stop worrying and head to recoveryafterstroke.com, where you can download a guide that will help you. It's called 7 Questions to Ask Your Doctor About Your Stroke. These 7 questions are the ones Bill wished he'd asked when he was recovering from a stroke. They'll not only help you better understand your condition, they'll help you take a more active role in your recovery. Head to the website now, recoveryafterstroke.com, and download the guide. It's free.
I saw that and I thought that's just so fitting for all of stroke survivors that, we don't have to be perfect. We can be perfectly imperfect. So yeah, that's my take on it, is you don't have to be perfect. Everyone struggles with something. So
Be okay with it. Be okay with not being perfect or
that's right.
normal or whatever the word is that you use that limits you from getting further along in your journey,
Yeah.
because aiming for perfection, I reckon, closes the window on other possibilities that we're not
Yeah.
seeing because we're trying to get to this one point.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I agree with that one. Perfectly imperfect. And even before the stroke, we were nowhere near perfect. We were just, I don't know, stumbling towards some kind of strange version of perfection that we were never going to get to anyway.
That's right.
And now, if it's the one thing that's occupying your mind of getting back to where you were beforehand, maybe you just need to let go of that and just live the moment that you're in and experience
Yeah.
what you're experiencing, because there's a real richness in your current experience, even if it's a shit one, pardon my French. It's still a lot of richness there. There is still something you can gain from it. And the way that I extract a good thing out of a really bad time is by asking if, and by trying to trick myself sometimes and saying stuff like, if it was possible for something good to come out of this situation, if it was possible, what might it be?
That's right.
And that automatically trains the mind to say, okay, well, I'm experiencing pain and suffering and all this type of thing, but a lovely person came up to me and said hello and spoke to me, and that's a good thing that came out of that painful situation.
That's right.
The other thing that you did really well was you explained this thing that I can't explain to people. So my left leg, it becomes really stiff and numb, and it then starts to hurt. And this is why I contacted you, because you posted a post which says, my legs are hungover. And that to me was, I never had the words, that describes my leg. It feels like it's hungover.
That's right. Yeah.
How did you get to that? Or did you find that somewhere else and pinch it?
Yeah, I think it was on Pinterest, but yeah, I found that and I thought that was so fitting because, we had walked along that day and we had bike ride, and yeah, my legs were totally done. My right leg was totally done that night. I wish I would put my leg is hungover, but it says legs. So
I knew exactly what you meant though. Like I totally understood that. When you're riding a bike, is it easy to keep the affected leg on the pedal? Because I really struggled with that for a long time.
yeah, I really struggled with that in the beginning. My husband kept saying to me that I was just using my toes to pedal my bike on my right side. And But this year, I've only been bike riding a few times because we just lost our snow, but we've just gained it all back today. But
Oh.
yeah, um, the bike rides that I've gone on this year, I can place my foot on the pedal properly. So
And how quickly does your leg get tired? Because what I noticed about my leg was I might start off the first few minutes are fine, even 10 minutes. And then
mhm,
if I do one, even just a minor incline or a small hill,
yeah,
then it gets really tired. And
yeah,
then my right leg is out of the picture.
yeah,
Oh, I beg your pardon. My left leg is out of the picture and my right leg is trying to do more work to keep it going.
that's right. Yeah, that's me too.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
solved that problem at the beginning with a stirrup for my left foot. So, the pedals, how they have straps to hold
yeah,
feet in for bike riders who are more serious than us. And I used to put my foot in the stirrup and then forget that it was in the stirrup and then go to try and put my foot down. And of course, I couldn't get it out quick enough and I'd fall over.
yeah. Oh,
That was really challenging because I was trying to solve the problem of my foot not staying on the pedal. And I
yeah,
solved that problem and then I created another problem.
that's right.
And I got sick of it and I gave the bike away for a little while. I stopped riding. And then somebody said to me, "Have you ever tried an electric bike?" And I always thought that was a bit weird. I don't know what they do. Like, I don't get it. And I went and tried one. And what I realized was the electric bike in those first early parts of the pedaling process. So in the first, I'd say, in the hardest part of the pedal, in the hardest
Mhm,
part, it assists you with the electric motor,
that's
and it
right.
and you don't feel that strain, and
Yeah,
therefore my leg doesn't get fatigued, and I
mhm,
can ride for an hour or more, and I just come back and everything is okay.
that's right. So my husband, we were in Hawaii just over a year ago, and we rented electric bikes, and it totally impressed my husband so much that he's buying us electric bikes. Well, at least me. So
Yeah.
then I can keep up with him because he always does like a 9 or 10 kilometer bike ride every morning.
Yes.
And there's no way I can keep up with him.
Yeah.
But if I had my electric bike, then
Yeah.
I could. So
Yeah. So ours are pre-programmed to support you up to 25 kilometers an hour, and then the electric motor switches off. But which by then you're cruising along,
yeah,
and it's really a comfortable uh, sort of speed to be riding. It's not too fast and it's not too slow. And then as you get a little bit fatigued or tired and you drop under 25 kilometers, it kicks in again.
yeah,
So you don't really need to actually put in a lot of effort into staying at 25 kilometers an hour.
yeah,
So I rediscovered my love of bike riding with that electric bike, and it
yeah,
can do up to about 100 kilometers, or if I put it on the very high level of support of help or whatever they call it,
yeah.
it does maybe 30 or 40 kilometers, which is way more than I'll do on a single day.
That's right. Yeah,
And I just crank it up to the full level of support so that I don't have to get tired at all, really.
that's right. That's awesome.
So you're going to love that when you get it. And that's going to mean that you're going to be able to put your foot on the pedal better,
Yeah.
and it'll be much easier. Now, for people listening who might have given up bike riding for whatever reason, say that you can't balance on a bike on two wheels, and maybe if you get a three-wheeled bike with two wheels at the back, one at the front, and you can get an electric motor, that will really help. But also, I think they're available on those bikes where people lie down and they
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
sit in a seat and then they look like they're almost lying down. You can get it in those bikes as
Yeah.
well. So what I find is that although I can drive, it gives me a sense of independence that's a little different from getting in the car. It's more freeing. It's a more spiritual
That's right.
independence.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Did you have any? Were you not able to drive for a while? And how did you experience that? How did you feel about that?
Well, I don't know what it's like in other countries, but in Canada, automatically when you have a stroke, you lose your license for a month minimum. And so I got my car after my 1 month to the day, and I said to my husband, "Am I allowed to drive?" Like, I was so nervous.
Mm,
And my husband's like, "Yes, you're allowed to drive. Just get in the car and drive." So I drove around our area, and yeah, you just pick it up like no problem. But it was really nerve wracking for the first little bit, but no problems after that.
How about the right foot on the pedal? Were you able to get back to being able to work out how much to pressure to put on?
Yeah, I don't know what it's called, but my right three toes are, I think it's called spasticity or
Yeah, they
yeah,
curled over a little.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that was my big struggle in the beginning, was how to put my toes onto the pedal. So actually, I used my cruise control quite a bit
Mm,
in the very beginning because my toes kept cramping up, and then my foot would cramp up, and then I'd have to stop my car and get out because I have to put my foot flat to get the cramps out.
mhm.
So yeah, that was probably my biggest hurdle with driving.
Wow, you've come such a long way. You've actually had a fair amount to overcome. We make it sound like you got there really easily, but I can't imagine that this was all just as breezy as you make it sound.
Yeah, it's not as breezy, but it was pretty. Like, I look at other people's Instagram stories, and I think I have it so much easier. I have nothing to complain about. So
So you're in which part of Canada?
Alberta.
Is that at the top?
Um, so Canada goes like this,
Yep.
and we're over the next province over to BC, British Columbia, Vancouver.
Yep.
So we're in Edmonton.
Is that near
So
the
we're
border of the United States?
no, we're north probably about 7 hours from the border.
How does the weather impact your stroke in any way? Does the cold bother you and annoy you?
Can you
That's
see
it.
my snow outside?
Just white, nothing else but white.
Yeah, that creates some fun times because yeah, it's I mean, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's cold some days. We didn't have that much cold weather this winter. We had a really nice winter this year. Um, we had only a couple of days of 40 below, which is totally fine with me if it's only a few days.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's been a great winter. We're heading into our spring. Like, this is actually spring now, but yeah, we still get snow, and probably till May we'll have on and off snowstorms. We were outside in the yard today. We were raking it up. It was beautiful all day today, and then the snow kicked in. So it's
How
really
much
funny.
snow?
Um,
A bit.
there's probably 3 inches out there.
Yeah, that's a fair bit. And does that impact the stroke recovery? Does that make you feel colder on one side or the other side, the
Yeah.
cold?
Oh yeah, for sure. My right side, for my first winter after my stroke, I was under like 4 blankets every day because I just couldn't warm up, and my right foot would freeze instantly. So, and my right hand. So yeah, it definitely impacts it. I don't know if it's like that for you.
Mm.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's very common that one side of the body is colder than the other for a lot of stroke survivors. I'm not sure why that is, but it's so
Yeah.
common. And
Huh.
at night here, we don't get to -40, which is 4 degrees Celsius that often where I live in Melbourne.
Mhm.
We do get Arctic winds coming up from the South Pole, and our our weather is we're kind of stuck in between the desert of the majority of our country,
Mhm.
which if there's a northerly wind brings hot temperatures and hot
Yeah.
conditions. But then in winter, when things switch around, we get the southerlies, and those southerlies are ice cold. I imagine it's similar to what you guys feel from
The North.
the North Pole, right?
Yeah.
And I can tell you that I can be like you under every kind of blanket and so warm, and then feel the chill still penetrating all those layers and getting to my skin and somehow making that part of my body feel freezing.
Yeah.
And you can actually measure the difference in the temperature with a thermometer on one side of my body to the other. And it's usually
Oh, really?
a couple of degrees lower or 1 and a bit degrees
Yeah.
lower.
Wow.
So
That's crazy.
it's very common. And I never really liked the cold, and I love summer. And I don't know how anyone lives in a part of the world where it snows. I don't know how they do it.
Mhm.
All power to you guys, but I
Yeah.
can't ever imagine myself doing it. And my wife made me go, and I say made me go. We traveled to New York for New Year's in 2012, 2013,
Mhm.
and it was around 40 below every day. And
40 below there?
it, it, it was around 40 Fahrenheit every day. So it was about
Okay, so we're Celsius. So 40 below is like
40 Fahrenheit.
40 below is like 40 below Celsius.
Oh, not not near 0 degrees Celsius.
No, 40 below.
And you think that's okay for a few days?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
40 below minus 40 Fahrenheit?
Celsius. So
Minus
40
40
below
Celsius?
40 below Celsius and 40 below Fahrenheit would be about the same. Here it is right here. Yeah, 40 degrees below 0 is 40 degrees Celsius, and Fahrenheit is exactly the same. So
we're talking about freezing.
when the freezing point is 0 degrees Celsius, means 32 Fahrenheit
Okay.
is our freezing.
Okay. So are you talking below 32 Fahrenheit?
Mm-hmm. I'm talking 40 degrees below Fahrenheit.
Freezing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
And we used to live 9 hours north of here, and it would get to 50 below. And one day it was like 52 below 0, and I said to my husband, "It's time to move. I'm done with this. We need to move." So we moved down here, and yeah, it's way better here.
We need to move to a warmer climate where it only gets to 40 below.
Yeah.
Everything is
Yeah.
relative. That is absolutely crazy. I cannot imagine. I don't know why people do, but isn't it amazing how it's a great example of how humans can adapt to anything. And if you can adapt to those types of temperature decreases, then you can adapt to anything. And stroke should be one of those things that we can somehow find a way to adapt to. We've got no other choice. So we've got to just adapt to it.
My mom and I moved from Vancouver, BC. Have you ever checked out the weather in Vancouver? It's quite rainy, and it's just north of Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of that wet, rainy, it hardly ever gets below 0 there. It's, it's pretty mild. And my mom and I moved to Fort St. John, BC, which is, I think it's 18 hours north of Vancouver. And our first winter there, my mom said, "That's it, we're moving," because all the windows froze up. Like we had thick ice on every window, and it felt like it was 40 below in our house. But my mom had turned up the humidifier.
Oh.
So we had all this humidity in there. So we ended up staying, but
so you had your own little tropical climate, although it was cold.
So yeah, we've learned a few rules of the way, right? So
yeah. Good on you. I don't know how you do it. Have you ever dreamt of, I'm going to go to Miami, Florida and spend a year there one day?
No, I would like to probably go, if I'm dreaming of somewhere, it'd probably be Hawaii.
Yeah.
We love going to Hawaii.
Okay.
We've been there many times now. That would be my dream location to live.
Yeah, I've been to Hawaii, and the temperature there was amazing. It was pretty consistent, and from what I hear, it doesn't fluctuate a lot, does it?
That's right. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. Okay. So somebody like you that comes from such a cold climate could really settle into something like.
Oh, I could
Waikiki Beach.
totally leave the cold weather and the dust, no problem.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear it. I didn't want you to be one of those crazy people who loves the cold.
No, I don't love the cold, but I can live with it, right?
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
most people. All right.
And
Well,
you know what? It makes you appreciate the warmer days because we've had this great winter here and, you know, I have this lady at work who loves to complain about everything. She's like, "Oh, it's so cold." And I'm like, "It's a really beautiful day. It's not 50 below." So, yeah, it's great.
sounds
So
like she's living in the wrong part of the world.
yeah, I think she'd probably be one to live in Miami, right?
Yeah. So about 3 hours, about 3 hour plane flight north from where I live. So around
Hmm.
3,500 kilometers from where I live is the Gold Coast. The Sunshine Coast is Queensland. It's where all the Victorians and Melburnians leave in winter to go to get away from the cold weather for
Right.
a little bit. I could really see myself just finding a little shack somewhere near a beach over there and just plonking my butt there and being there for
Yeah.
the rest of my life, like quite happily, because it gets warm, but it never gets below about 20 degrees Celsius. And when it does get below that, it's quite cold for them. They whinge about it. But in
Right.
Melbourne, 20 degrees Celsius in winter would be just unbelievable. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
And I remember traveling there one year, and it was winter in Melbourne, and I went up for a conference. And while I was there, it was about 22 degrees Celsius, and I was in shorts and a t-shirt and flip-flops, and everything was amazing. And this guy walks past me with a jacket and a scarf.
Yeah.
And he was cold, and I was in
Yeah.
shorts, and I was looking at him thinking, what are you doing? Like, why are you wearing a scarf? It's 20
Yeah.
degrees Celsius. The sun is out. It's a completely amazing day.
We went down to Los Angeles to Disneyland when our kids were young. And the day we got there, our kids are, in their um, shorts and tank tops. And it was like, I don't know, maybe April. And we're looking at these people that were from LA and they're wearing their winter coats. And we're like, why are you wearing your winter coat? Like, that seems so stupid because it was so beautiful.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, this is so cold. We're like, we just left 40 below. Like, we're wearing shorts and t-shirts and tank tops and sandals, and that's all we took, right? So it's really funny, but
That's fair enough.
yeah.
Look, I really appreciate you connecting with me and agreeing to be on the podcast.
No problem.
It's really lovely to hear your story and how some strange thing called the cryptogenic stroke has created a few problems for you, but solved some other ones for you.
Yep.
That is rare and wonderful to hear about.
Yeah.
And I wish you all the best, and I hope everything goes really well for you in your recovery from here on.
Thank you very much.
Discover how to heal your brain after stroke. Go to recoveryafterstroke.com. Importantly, we present many podcasts designed to give you an insight and understanding into the experiences of other individuals. Opinions and treatment protocols discussed during any podcast are the individual's own experience, and we do not necessarily share the same opinion, nor do we recommend any treatment protocol discussed. All content on this website and any linked blog, podcast, or video material controlled this website or content is created and produced for informational purposes only and is largely based on the personal experience of Bill Gassiamis. The content is intended to complement your medical treatment and support healing. It is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice and should not be relied on as health advice. The information is general and may not be suitable for your personal injuries, circumstances, or health objectives. Do not use our content as a standalone resource to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease for therapeutic purposes or as a substitute for the advice of a health professional. Never delay seeking advice or disregard the advice of a medical professional, your doctor, or your rehabilitation rehabilitation program based on our content. If you have any questions or concerns about your health or medical condition, please seek guidance from a doctor or other medical professional. If you are experiencing a health emergency or think you might be, call 000 if in Australia, or your local emergency number immediately for emergency assistance, or go to the nearest hospital emergency department. Medical information changes constantly. While we aim to provide current, quality information in our content, we do not provide any guarantees and assume no legal liability or responsibility for the accuracy, currency, or completeness of the content. If you choose to rely on any information within our content, you do so solely at your own risk. We are careful with links we provide. However, third-party links from our website are followed at your own risk, and we are not responsible for any information you find there.